Uh, so today we're going to introduce the interesting world of the Catalan numbers. So Catalan numbers, Catalan numbers are interesting sequence that often occur in combinatorial problems. So today we're trying to understand its significance while we encounter in some combinatorial problems. So historically, it was first encountered by Leonhard Euler when he was trying to solve some problem. Basically, he was trying to triangulize a n-sided polygon. So, while solving his problem, he came across a recurrence relation that we are going to explore today. Later, Catalan was the mathematician that discovered some interesting properties and related it to, and he formally introduced us to the Catalan numbers. The Catalan number was basically named after the mathematician Catalan. So, basically, Catalan numbers are defined as 2n factorial upon n plus 1 factorial n factorial. We can simply write it as 2n choose n upon n plus 1. And here are some few first Catalan numbers starting from n equals to 0. We define C0 as 1, then we continue like this. So, to understand Catalan numbers, we'll go back to history and try to find out why are Catalan numbers. So, basically, this is a triangle, right? What do you mean by triangle? What do you mean by triangulation? We have shown in the PPT, right? This is a triangle. There is only one way to triangulize it. That's the figure only. When we are n equals to 4, that's for a quadrilateral. We have only two ways to triangulize it. That's basically this and that. And if we draw the another diagonal, this is this. For a pentagon, we have this scene. For a hexagon, we have this. For hexagon, we have 14 ways to triangulize the hexagon. So we are observing the pattern and try to figure out some interesting recurrence relation on it. So basically, how does that relate with the Catalan numbers? So, Buster. Suppose you have an n-sided polygon. By the term triangulation, we basically mean that we are drawing the diagonals such that the diagonals shouldn't intersect with each other inside the n-sided polygon, right? Like, for an example, we can see this. None of the diagonals are intersecting inside the n-sided polygon. They are only intersecting on the vertices. So this is one way of the to do the triangulation. So there are many ways you can triangulize an n-sided polygon. So we are basically trying to find out for a general n-sided polygon how many ways are there to triangulize it, right? So what we are basically trying to do is, before we find a closed form of the formulae, we basically trying to find the patterns from C0, C1, C2 and try to generalize for any general n. So consider a n-sided polygon. For simplicity, I'm taking an octagon for but because it's very complicated to draw an n-sided polygon, so therefore I'm just for giving an example, I'm taking an octagon, right? So consider this is 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah. This is k, and suppose this is n. This is basically an n-sided polygon, right? So first, what we do is we fixed a side, and what we call is this as a base. Then, apart from these two vertices, suppose 1 and n, like you can choose 1, 2, 1, 3, then we can rename the indices. It's fine. So, we pick 1 and n, name it as our base. Then, we pick any other vertices. Suppose I pick k. Then, what I do is I join the vertex k with 1 and n. So, this is a triangle 1kn. This is a triangle. This triangle divides this n-sided polygon into three regions. One is a triangle, one is this portion, and one is this portion. Can you guys tell what is the side number of sides of this polygon? K, right? So this is a k-sided polygon, right? Leave this aside. What is the number of sides in this polygon? Is it n minus k or it's n minus k plus 1, right? We had n-sided polygon. We left this aside. Then these are how many points? K minus 1 points, right? So how many are these? N minus k, and this is all plus 1, right? This is a n minus k plus 1-sided polygon, right? So basically what I'm trying to do is now I will triangulate this polygon and this polygon. Corresponding to each triangulation in this polygon, it will be considered as the triangulation of the whole n-sided polygon, because this itself is a triangle, right? So what I'm trying to do is I am basically going to triangulate this polygon and this polygon for this fixed k. Then what I will try to do is I will vary this k over 2 up to n minus 1, because 1 and n are already fixed, right? So for this k, this is a k-sided polygon, this was a n minus k plus 1-sided polygon. So let us denote Tn be number of ways to divide a n-sided polygon into triangles, right? So this is a k-sided polygon. So number of ways to divide this into triangles using its diagonals who does not intersect inside the polygon are basically using this definition. They are going to be Tk, right? And what is Tk? Tk is basically a natural number, right? It is not a sequence. It is not like this general format. It is basically a number, right? Tk is the number of way to triangulate this polygon. Similarly, the number of ways to triangulate this polygon is Tn minus k plus 1. So we are using basic fundamental theorem of combinatorics, and we multiply them both, n minus k plus 1. That is the way to triangulate this polygon corresponding to this k. But this k can be 2 also, 3 also, 4 also, up to k. It can also be n minus 1. So we basically take the summation k going from 2 up to n minus 1. And that's basically the number to triangulate the whole polygon. So basically that is Tn. Right? So now can you tell me what T3 will be? Don't use this formula, just use a common sense. What is a T3? T3 is nothing but the number of ways to triangulate a triangle, a polygon of side 3. That's basically a triangle, right? So the number of ways to triangulate a triangle is 1. That's obvious. What is T4? 2. If you have a quadrilateral, either you can do this or you can do this. You can't do this because the diagonal will intersect, right? So there are only 2 ways. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this formula. What is this? T2, T n minus 1, T3, T n minus 2, and finally I get T n minus 1 and then T2. So I don't like this 2. Like we are starting our sequence from 2 and I don't like it. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm denoting T as Cn minus 2. We'll introduce later what a C is. Don't like bother about it right now. So basically our Cn is going to be C0 Cn minus 1 plus C1 Cn minus 2 up to Cn minus 1 C0. Now what happens is, what does the C n start from? Corresponding to this C. Like it will start from 0, right? Later it used to start from 2. We add this, Tn goes to Cn minus 2. So it will start from 0. So we do some kind of algebra and we get the recurrence relation. There is something called the generating function of this recurrence relation. So basically what we are trying to do is, from the coefficients of C0, C1, C2 up to Cn, basically what we are trying to do is construct a power series, right? Then we are trying to find a closed form of Cn using this function. So let's note fz as c0, c1z, c2z square up to infinite terms. Then what we do is we square the function. Squaring the function basically means we multiply fz with fz itself, right? Then what we're trying to do, if you multiply let's multiply c0 plus c1x plus c2x square, c0 plus c1x plus c2x square, blah 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 blah. So basically what we're trying to do, we are gathering the constant terms, coefficient of x square, and so on. So basically what is the constant term? The constant term is going to be c0 square, right? What is the coefficient of x? The coefficient of x is going to be c0 c1 plus c1 c0. Coefficient of x square, c0 c2 c1 square plus c2 c0 x square, and so on, right? Now basically what we do is, this was fx square. Now just observe, if we multiply it with x, what exactly happens? This is basically x c0 square, x square c0 c1 plus c1 c0, c0 c1 plus c1 square plus c2 c0 x cube, and so on, right? Now just recall the recurrence relation we have just derived. c0 c1 plus c1 c0 is nothing but c2. From the recurrence, this, just put to n equals to 2, you will get that. c0 0 2 1 square and c2 c0, this is nothing but c3, right? So what we defined c0 to be r1, and that's also equals to c1. So I can write c1 square as c0 square as c1, right? So this is nothing but c1x plus c2x square, c up to cn x power n, and so on. Now what I'm trying to do is add c0 both sides, x fx square plus c0, and we add c0 this side also. So this is our original function that we assumed as fx. So this side is basically fx, and this side becomes x f square x, c0 was 1. So what you do is you basically get a quadratic on fx, then you apply the quadratic formula and get the closed form of fx. Now you have square root of 1 minus 4x or square root of 1 minus 4z. You apply the Newton binomial theorem for general index, and then you arrive at this. Then you expand the sequence format, then you get this 2ici upon I plus 1. And remember, what was ci? Ci was the coefficient of x to the power I. So we get is as 2i ci upon I plus 1. So this ci we say as the ith Catalan number. So what we get is the closed format of Catalan number as 2ncn upon n plus 1, where n follows greater than equals to 0, c0 become 1, c1 becomes 1. Right? That's it. So now we are going to look at some interesting applications of this number. So all of us know about natural numbers, right? Natural numbers, in case of multiplication, they are commutative and associative. We are not going to use commutativity here. We are going to fix the order of the numbers. Like if you have 1 into 2 into 3, we are not interested in 2 into 3 into 1 and that stuff. we are just interested in the associative property of the positive integers. So what we are trying to do is we put brackets between them to define a unique multiplication. Now, what do you exactly mean by a unique multiplication? Like, if you have 1 into 2 into 3, if you have put one bracket, no matter how many brackets you put, it is the same thing. But if you write 1 into 2 into 3, 2, 3 in one bracket, then you put another bracket, that is an entire different scenario. Basically the answer will be same, but this multiplication scheme is different. First you multiplied 1 with 2, then you kept 3 as separate, then you multiplied 2 and 3 together and kept 1 as separate, right? These two are different multiplication scheme giving out the same answer, right? So we are trying to figure out, given n natural numbers 1, 2 up to n, how many unique multiplication schemes are possible that are meaningful. So the previous idea that we used to triangle as an n-sided polygon will also be useful in this case. So basically what I'm trying to do is consider 1 into 2 into 3 up to n, this multiplication. In that case, if you remember, we chose a k. In this case also, we will choose a k such that k lies between 1 to n, right? So what we do, first we pick these numbers, then we pick the numbers from k plus 1 to n. First, let's make this, denote this as a, denote this as b. So let mn be number of multiplication scheme of n integers. So basically what I'm trying to do is the same thing. You write mn, first you find the multiplication scheme of k numbers, that will basically be mk, then you find the multiplication scheme of rest remaining n minus k numbers, that is mn minus k, and then you take the summation over k, and k varies from 2 up to n minus 1, right? If you just do some slight modification and if you replace mn with cn minus 1, basically yes, so we get number of ways to find a unique multiplication scheme of n numbers is basically cn minus 1. As you can see in the slides, we have 4 numbers, right? So how many ways are there to write a unique multiplication scheme? That will be C3 basically, and C3 is exactly 5. C3 you can verify, right? What is C3? Use that formula, 6 choose 3 upon 3 plus 1, that's exactly 5. These are 5 numbers. So how many ways are there to write a unique multiplication scheme? See, 4. You can verify. 8 choose 4 upon 5, you will exactly get 14. So that's the point. Okay. Now, नहीं पॉलीगॉन और दिखा दो.
So now we will see some application of the Catalan number. So one application is from which other applications will be easy to understand. So the application is, suppose I have n number of plus 1 and n number of minus 1. Okay, so total I have 2n numbers. How to arrange them? How many ways are there to arrange them? You might have learned it. How many ways? You have n distinct, n same object n same object, you have to arrange them. 2n yeah. So it is 2n. But my job is not to arrange them. My task is to construct a sequence. I am constructing a sequence in such a way that partial sum starting from the first sequence is always non-negative. Means what I want to say is you choose any k, right? You choose any k. I am saying a1 plus a2 plus up to ak should be greater than or equal to 0. I have to arrange these numbers in such a way that you take any partial sum starting from the first number, you always get the sum bigger than or equal to 0. Right? So it won't be 2n, it will be less than that. So how to find this? One such example, suppose for n equals to 3, what are the numbers? I have 3 plus 1 and 3 minus 1. So one such sequence is this is itself a one such sequence. One you can construct 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. This is also a sequence. You take any partial sum, you will always get a non-negative sum. Right? So how to construct it? Let's go. Slide. Yeah. पीछे. Okay. So what I am calling is, I am calling those permutation as accepted permutation in which this condition is followed. Okay, I am denoting such numbers as an, and I am calling such permutation in which this condition is not followed as unaccepted permutation. I am calling those number of permutation as un. Right? So clearly an plus un will be total number of permutation, which is 2n. Okay, so I will find accepted number of permutation by calculating unaccepted number of permutation. Okay, so see. When will a permutation be unaccepted? So I have n plus 1s and n minus 1s. Suppose a1, a2 up to a2n be a permutation of these numbers, and this comes under unaccepted category. So if it is an unaccepted, means there exists at least one k such that the partial sum is negative. Because accepted one, we want non-negative partial sums, but in unaccepted one, it will be negative at least for some k. So I am picking the smallest k for which this rule breaks. a1 plus a2 plus to ak is less than 0. K is the smallest number for which this rule is breaking. It is becoming, sum is becoming negative. So see, a1, a2 are basically plus 1 or minus 1, right? So if this is the smallest k, can I say ak has to be minus 1 and a1 plus a2 plus ak minus 1 has to be 0? Because minus 1 is the first negative number you will reach, right? If you add the terms of the sequence, minus 1 will be the first negative number you will reach. So it will be 0, it will be ak will be minus 1. And also I can say k will be odd. Why? Because a1 plus a2 plus ak minus 1 is 0. It is only possible if I have equal number of 1 and minus 1. So k has to be odd number. Okay. So if k is odd number, and if I consider these numbers, a1, a2 up to ak. So here, how many minus 1 will be there? How many minus 1s will be there? K minus 1 by 2. K minus 1 का आंसर क्या है ना? K minus 1 by 2. K minus 1 by 2 minus 1. If I include this AK, I can say total number of minus 1 here is K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 minus 1s. K minus 1 by 2 from this, and AK is minus 1, so K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 minus 1 will be there, and K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 will be there. So this sequence will contain K minus 1 by 2 plus 1s. Okay. Now what I am doing is I am replacing. See, basically I have this sum a1 plus a2 plus up to ak is less than 0. I have this sum. I am replacing each ai with minus ai. Each ai with minus ai means basically I am defining a new sequence, call it as ai dash. It is minus of ai if I is in between 1 and k, and it is ai if I is bigger than k, less than equals to 2n. I am basically constructing a new sequence. Means in this sequence I am replacing 1 by minus 1, minus 1 by 1. Rest other terms from k plus 1 to 2n, they are the same. They will remain same. So okay, if I do so, then what will happen? So originally here I have k minus 1 by 2 plus 1 minus 1s, but I replace minus 1 by plus 1. So from a1 to ak there will be k minus 1 by 2 plus 1 plus 1s. Like the number of plus 1 and minus 1 will change. So in this sequence a1 dash, a2 dash up to ak dash, number of plus 1s will be k minus 1 by 2 plus 1, number of plus 1, and number of minus 1 will be k minus 1 by 2. Okay, it is clear? I have flipped plus 1 with minus 1, minus 1 with plus 1, so numbers change. But when I flipped in this sequence, what were the other terms apart from a1 to ak? They were ak plus 1 up to a2n. I do not flip these numbers. These remains the same. I flipped those. Okay. So if from a1 to ak I have k minus 1 by 2 plus 1, and I have a total of n number of plus 1s, so in this sequence I have n minus k minus 1 by 2 plus 1. Can I say it? Also from a1 to ak I had these many numbers of minus 1, and I have total of n number of minus 1. So in this sequence number of minus 1 will be n minus k minus 1 by 2 plus 1. This will be the number of minus 1s. Now this sequence copies as it is copies to our new sequence we constructed. So from ak plus 1 to a2n, number of minus 1 will be this, and number of plus 1 will be this. They will remain the same. Okay. Acha, now if I want to calculate total number of plus 1 and minus 1 in our new sequence. What will be the number of plus 1 in this new sequence? What will be the number of plus 1s? See, from a dash 1 to a dash k, I have k minus 1 by 2 plus 1, these many plus 1s. And from here to here, I have these many plus 1s. So basically, I will add them, right? So what will be the answer? This plus this. So it will be n plus 1 plus 1. And what will be the number of minus 1s? This plus this. So it will be n minus 1. N minus 1 minus 1s. So from the original sequence, I constructed a new sequence having n plus 1 number of plus 1 and n minus 1 number of minus 1. Now my claim is every permutation of this sequence is an unacceptable sequence. How I will show? So can you erase it? What? How number of plus 1s came? Okay. See. Okay, what was my new sequence? What was the definition of my new sequence? It was minus ai if I is between 1 and k, and ai if I is less than 2n. This was the new number. Suppose I am taking an example for, suppose I have a sequence 1, minus 1, 1, minus 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 1, minus 1. Right? Okay? So, this is a acceptable permutation, but if I suppose I consider this sequence minus 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1, 1, 1. So this is not an acceptable sequence, acceptable permutation, because see, if you take this minus 1 plus 1 minus 1 will be less than 0. So this is not an acceptable sequence. So what I did is make it 1 comma, make it let's say minus 1 and 1. Okay, again this is not an acceptable sequence. Why? Because 1 minus 1 minus 1 is less than 0. So how will I construct new sequence from this sequence? I found the least k for which the rule is break, like the least k for which the partial sum become negative, and I replace 1 by minus 1, minus 1 by 1, minus 1 by 1, and rest of the terms remains the same. So you can count number of plus 1 has been increased. Right? It is clear? Okay. So see, I choose the least k for which the rule is breaking. I choose the least k for which the rule is breaking, and I replace, and I basically multiply each term with minus 1, making plus 1 minus 1 minus 1 into plus 1. Okay. If this term is negative and k is least, then can I say ak equals to minus 1? Because the first negative number you can reach is minus 1. So ak will be minus 1, and a1 plus a2 up to ak minus 1 will be 0. It is clear, and it will be 0 only when this sum has equal number of plus 1 and minus 1. So how many minus 1 it will have? K minus 1 by 2. How many plus 1 it will have? Same na? Okay. But if I include AK also, total number of minus 1 will be K minus 1 by 2 plus 1, because I included AK also. Right? So, okay, let me write it once more. So in this sequence, A1, A2 up to AK was minus 1. Total number of minus 1, K minus 1 by 2 plus 1, total number of minus 1, and total number of plus 1 was K minus 1 by 2 plus 1. Okay, but if I go to the new sequence, minus 1 become plus 1, plus 1 become minus 1. So total number of plus 1 in the new sequence will be this, minus 1 will be this. But see the definition. From I, K to 2n, I am not doing anything. These terms are same. So in the original sequence, if I take the original sequence, the number of, these will be the leftover terms, right? Now tell how many minus 1s will be present from AK plus 1 to A to n. See, I have n number of plus 1 and n number of minus 1. So if I want to calculate, it will be n minus K minus 1 by 2. And total number of minus 1 will be n minus K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 minus 1. Okay. Now since I am not doing anything to this sequence will copy as it is to my new sequence. So basically these terms are equal. All the terms here are equal. I am copying the sequence as it is to the new sequence. So now, okay. Now from A1, A2 up to AK, total number of plus 1s were how many? K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 and K minus 1 by 2 minus 1s. But if I consider AK plus 1 up to A dash 2n, total number of plus 1s will be this only. So it will be n minus K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 and n minus K minus 1 by 2 plus 1 minus 1. Right. So what will be the total number of plus 1s? What will be the total number of plus 1s in the entire sequence? I will add number of plus 1 here plus number of plus 1 here. I will add, right? So if I add this and this, what I will get? If I add this with this, I will get total number of plus 1 to be n plus 1 plus 1. If I add this with n minus 1 plus 1s, n minus 1 minus 1. So basically in my new sequence, number of plus 1 is n plus 1, number of minus 1 is n minus 1. Now, my claim was every permutation of this new sequence will be a unacceptable sequence. Why? Because, see, if I consider a permutation of my new sequence, suppose A dash I1, A dash I2, dash I2n. is a permutation of my new sequence. So since number of plus 1 is n plus 1 and number of minus 1 is n minus 1, so there will exist an m such that the partial sum becomes plus 1. The partial sums become 1, because if you add all the terms in this sequence, what will you get? Plus 2. You will get plus 2, right? Because you have n minus 1 minus 1. So there will be an m such that the partial sum become plus 1. Can I say? Or partial sum will be positive. Can I say it? So ai1 plus ai2 plus aim is positive. Okay. Not ai1, ai dash. This will be positive. Now I can apply the same logic before as I applied to the original sequence. I can do here also. I can replace plus 1 with minus 1, minus 1 with plus 1. So I will get back to the original sequence. Can you, are you able to understand it? I will get back to the original sequence if I apply the same process again, replacing plus 1 with minus 1, minus 1 with plus 1. So what will be the sum? If I replace plus 1 with minus 1, minus 1 will with plus 1, basically this sum will become negative. Means ai1 plus ai2 plus aim will be negative. Means from this permutation I get an unacceptable sequence. So from every permutation I will get the unacceptable sequence of the original sequence. I will get unacceptable permutations. Okay. So how many way I can permute the numbers? Okay. How many way I can permute? I have n plus 1 plus 1s and n minus 1 minus 1s. How many ways I can permute them? I can arrange them in how many ways? To n choose n plus 1. To n choose n plus 1 or n minus 1? Both are same. So to n choose n minus 1. So I got it to be un. Right? Because every permutation will give an unacceptable sequence. I got the unacceptable sequence to be this. Now I will put it here. So an will be 2n choose n minus 2n choose n minus 1. You can open it like in factorial manner. You will get 1 by n plus 1 2n choose n. So number of such ways, what does it tell? Like forget about this sum. You can also interpret it like this. You have let's say, if I ask you without numbers, you have n number of A and n number of B. You want to arrange them such that you take any partial sequence from starting from the first term. You take any partial sequence. The number of A should be more than or equal to number of B. So it is basically you consider A to be plus 1, B to be minus 1. You want to take this sum to be non-negative. So it will be 1 by n plus 1 to n choose n. Right? So from this application, from taking idea from this application, we can also relate other applications as well. Okay. टाइप पार्ट समझा देते हैं. Have you all played Flappy Bird game? Flappy Bird? Flappy Bird, you tap and bird will go. You have to. So basically what path the bird follow. Suppose this is the baseline, you don't want to cross this path, so basically bird go like this, and then comes like mountain range, like mountain range. The bird follows the path. So if I put a restriction, that you can go n times up and n times down, how many paths are there? How many paths are possible? Suppose I am taking example of n equals to 3. If n equals to 3, you can go 3 times up and 3 times down. So one path is, you can go like this, or you can go here, go up, then again go up, come down, again come down. This is also a path. Suppose you have to go from here to here. This is also a path. So how many such paths are possible so that you don't cross the borderline? Can't go like this. You have to be above the borderline. So how can you relate this problem to the previous one we discussed? How can you relate it? Yeah, correct. We will take up to be +1 and down to be -1, and we again want our partial sums to be non-negative all the time. Because see, if you +1, +1, -1, -1, -1, this is basically you are saying you go up, then go up, come down, then again. This is not possible since partial sum becomes negative. So you consider up to be +1 and down to be -1. So this is basically related to the previous only. How many ways you can arrange n number of +1 and n number of -1 so that partial sum is non-negative. This is again Cn, like 1 by n plus 1, 2n, choose n. So these paths have a special name. They are called Dyck paths. Let me write it down. They are called Dyck paths. So here you can say for n equals to 0 you have one way. It is basically like we are taking base case for n equals to 0 for one way. N equals to 1 means you can go one up and one down. So there is only one way, one up, one down. N equals to 2 you have 2 ways, and n equals to 3 you have 5 ways. Okay.
How can we say n equals to 0 that means only up, or
N equals to 0 is basically we are saying that we are defining by ourselves only. There is you can't like visualize it. For n equals to 1, yeah, we are just one way. Okay, is it just like we define 0, choose 0 to be 1? You can't visualize it like 0 choose 0 equals to 1. So that was the thing. Okay. So हाँ हाँ different number of +1 and -1. Hmm.
but how do we know that there are no other possible sequences?
Yeah, basically you show a bijection. There is a way to show bijection between our previous arrangement and the new sequence we constructed. So your first doubt was how can we get equal number of plus 1 and minus 1 uh, from the like new sequence we constructed. So see, uh, I have this sequence A1, A2 up to A2n. I constructed new sequence A1 dash, A2 dash, and A2n dash. I constructed new sequence, but here number of plus 1 become n plus 1, number of minus 1 become n minus 1. But how I defined it? I defined a dash I to be minus of ai if I less than equals to k, and ai if I greater than k less than equals to 2n. I define it. So basically, see, if this was minus 1, this becomes plus 1. If this was plus 1, this becomes minus 1. So in our partial sum, which we took, this was our partial sum, right? Plus ak. This was our partial sum. Our ak was minus 1. Total number of minus 1 were ak minus 1 by 2 minus 1, and total number of plus 1s were this. Then I convert to a new series, and number of plus 1 becomes 1 more. But in the new series, a2 dash plus a, I took it to be m, I1, I2, IM. This was positive. I took it to be positive, and I took the smallest index m. It means it has to be equal to 1, because 1 is the smallest positive number you can reach. So can I say this is 1, AIM is 1, and again same logic, AI1 plus AI2 plus AI m minus 1 equals to 0. This sum has to be 0. Total number of plus 1 will be how many are there? Like m minus 1 terms are there, like m minus 1 by 2. If you include it, plus 1s, and total number of minus 1 will be minus 1. So see, here basically what is happening, role of plus 1 and minus 1 is interchanging. In our initial sequence, we have ak as minus 1. Here we have last term as 1. Here I have, in this sequence, I have k minus 1 by 2 plus 1 minus 1s, but here the same pattern is for plus 1. So basically what is happening is, when you applied this condition, the number of plus 1 increased, but by applying this condition, number of minus 1 will increase in the new sequence made from this. So basically it is compensation. Compensation is happening, like plus 1 minus 1, and then this is basically role of plus 1 and minus 1 are getting interchanged. That's why. Okay. So right parts. Yeah. So it was clear, like parts. It was clear, right?
Yeah.
Number of parts from A to B. Okay. Now there is one more small application you can relate to. It is number of valid parenthesization, like how many valid parentheses you can make. You have, suppose, n number of left parentheses and n number of right parentheses. How many valid ways you can draw the parentheses. Suppose for n equals to 3, valid parenthesis is this, like you can draw. But this is not valid. You draw this like then this. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. This is not valid. Right. So how can you relate this problem to whatever we have discussed? You want to draw valid parenthesis. How many number of ways you can draw the parenthesis? Okay. So is it clear that for a valid parenthesis, the number of left parenthesis should be more than or equal to number of right parenthesis from in any subsequence? For every right parenthesis, there must be a left pair. If there is no left pair, then it is invalid. So for every right, when you are drawing a right parenthesis, there must exist a left pair of it. Then only it will be valid. Right. So again, you want to arrange in such a way that number of left bracket is more than or equal to number of right bracket. Okay. Number of left bracket is more than or equal to number of right bracket. So how can you do it? Similar, right? You can think of left bracket to be +1 and right bracket to be -1. You want the partial sum to be non-negative. It means number of left brackets will always be more than number of right brackets. So again, it will be Cn only. If you have n left and right, it will be Cn. It is number of ways of parenthesizing. Good.
So now what we're trying to do is, basically we are going to discuss the logical equivalent of whatever we have discussed till now, right? So basically let's play a game. Suppose you have a grid of 3 cross 3. This is your house, this is nicer, suppose. So you can go only on the grids, like you can't travel like this, right? That is the restriction I am putting. Otherwise there is no sense of discussing it, like there are infinite of paths between nicer and your home, right? So there are only 2 movements allowed. One is right and one is up. Like you can go this way, but once you go this, you can't go this way, right? Neither you can go this way. It's only right or up. So can you tell me how many such paths are there such that you can reach from your home to nicer in a 3 cross 3 grid? So basically, what's the idea? So like whenever you took a horizontal path, denote it as R for right. Whenever you took a vertical path, denote it as U for up. Consider a path. Like I am considering this path. So basically it is R, R, U, U, R and U. Right? So corresponding to this path, what is my sequence? My sequence is R, R, U, U, R and U. Can you notice the number of terms are exactly 6, corresponding to a 3 cross 3 grid. And there are exactly the same number of R as the same number of U. There are exactly 3 U's and 3 R's. So can I say, in order to reach here, using the 2 movements R and U, corresponding to each path, there will be exactly 3 U's and 3 R's. Right? And I can also claim that if I am trying to arrange them, corresponding to each permutation or each arrangement, there will be a valid path. Right? So Now this question basically reduces to how many number of ways you can basically permute these numbers. The number of 3R and 3U's. Basically, you have six numbers. You choose places for 3R's and 3U's. Guess the positions are fixed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Suppose you have chosen this, this, and this for R. The position of U are automatically fixed, right? So we are projecting the same idea onto a n cross n grid. So can you say, if I remove the 3 from here and I place a n cross n grid and I put the same condition here that you can only take right paths and up paths, how many possible movements are there? Like how many number of steps that you need? First, forget about the arrangement, forget about the number of paths. How many movements are there? Like here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movements are there. So corresponding to n cross n grid, how many number of movements are there? 2n movements. So you have 2n movements. How many right movements will be there? N right movements will be there, and similarly n up movements will be there. So how many number of paths will be there in an n cross n grid? Basically, do you have any doubt? Total, no, not total paths, total movements, like total steps. Like there will be 2n total movements. N of them will be R and n of them will be U. Right? So how many number of ways you can arrange them? Basically, you are applying the same logic. 6 corresponding to n equals to 3, you have 6c3 corresponding to n equals to n, you have 2nc n. Right? Now, I am putting in extra conditions that whenever you reach from your home to Mysore, if I draw this diagonal, this is just a hypothetical diagonal. Consider this hypothetical diagonal. Any path that you take, you should always stay below this diagonal. You can never go up this diagonal. For example, you can take this path. This is valid. You are not even touching the diagonal, right? This is a valid path. You can also go this way also. Just this, you touch the diagonal, but this is still valid. Then you go this way. This is also valid. But you can't go like this. This is not valid because you cross the diagonal. You have to always stay below the diagonal, or you can just touch the diagonal. You can never cross the diagonal. So, in any permutation that you take, the number of right movements should always be greater than or equal to the number of up movements. And why is that? If you take this line as y equals to x, what is this reason basically? This reason is basically x is greater than equals to y. You can see it geometrically also, right? This reason is x is greater than equals to y. So number of right paths has to be greater than equals to number of up paths. Now, applying the same logic, you project x as +1, y as -1. So how many number of ways are there? Basically, there are 2ncn upon n plus 1. Now, if I am adding an extra condition that no matter you stay up the diagonal or down the diagonal, you don't want to cross the diagonal. I am removing the condition that you need to stay below the diagonal. Then how many number of possibilities are there? Either you stay entirely below the diagonal, otherwise you stay entirely up the diagonal. You can't cross the diagonal, right? 2 into 2n, choose n upon n plus 1, right? So there are exactly 2 times this number of ways you can reach from your home to Mysore by a n cross n grid such that you don't cross the diagonal, right? Next. So here we have shown some for n equals to 3, you can see. Okay. So our next application is going to be constructing binary trees. So in simple terms, the dots you are looking at are called nodes. The edges you are looking are called branches. So this is a node for n equals to 0. There is no tree, right? For n equals to 1. Basically, what does the number binary comes from? Binary comes from that if you have a node, at max you have 2 subnodes from it. It can have 1, but it will never be 3 or it will never be 4. It can have 1 or it can have 2 branches at max, right? So for n equals to 1, this is the only possible tree. For n equals to 2, this is the possible trees. For n equals to 3, we have so on. But how does that even relate to our problem? How does that relate to the Catalan numbers? So just consider for n equals to 3. So what I'm trying to do is, I will count the number of ways to arrive at these positions, the three ends, from left to right. First I will reach here, then reach here, then reach here and reach here. And whenever I take a left path, I denote it as x. Whenever I take a right path, I denote it as y. So starting from here, can you say, to reach here, what will the movement? It will be x. So write x. Now you want to reach here. So what will the movement? Y, then x. Then you are trying to reach here. So what will the movement? Y, x. But y is already counted. So you have y, then you have x. How can you reach here? Y. Two y's are already noted. So it is y. Right? Now consider another example. This looks different, right? Let's try this. Okay. Starting from here, you are counting from left to right. How many ways you can reach here? First x, then x. Then you want to reach here, x and y. X is already counted, so y, then x here, y. Right? Do you notice some similarity between these two sequences? The similarity is, if you consider from left, the number of x are always greater than or equal to number of y's. Understandable? Also, if you are given a sequence, you can always construct the corresponding tree also. Right? Suppose you have x. You go left, draw a node, then you have x. Like this. Then you have y. Go right. Now you have y. So you can't draw like this. So you have to go this way. Then you have x, this, and y, this. So corresponding to each sequence, you can construct a tree. Corresponding to every tree, you can construct your sequence. So basically, these two scenarios are equivalent. Basically, you can say the number of trees and this. The number of ways you can arrange this sequence such that the number of x has to be always greater than or equal to number of y's is equals to the number of binary trees that we want to construct. Right? Then we apply the same logic. We project x into 1, y is as minus 1. The number will be 2ncn upon n plus 1. There's another interesting way you can do this also, but that will be a little bit complicated, right? Like for a pentagon, I'm just giving an example. Like it will be difficult, much more complex for a general n. So I'm showing you only for n equals to 5, right? So I told you about the triangulations, right? Fix any base, mark the other sides, the midpoints of them, mark the centroid or whatever you say between these regions, connect these regions, then remove the sides and unfold them. You will exactly get these trees. I know it's hard to visualize, but corresponding to an n-sided polygon, you get Cn, and corresponding to an n-sided, a binary tree with n nodes, you also get Cn. So, it's intuitively that there is a bijection between them. But if you can visualize, you can try it. That you should fix a base, mark the midpoints, mark the centroids of the triangles that you have triangularized already, then join them. Then unfold them, removing the sides. you will get exactly a unique tree. So corresponding to a polygon and corresponding to a fixed structural triangulation, there exists a unique tree.
By unfolding, like we can.
And just remove the sides.
Sure.
It will be branching, right? It will be tree. It's obvious. Okay. Next. So non-intersecting cause, non-intersecting arcs.
So now here is one more application of Catalan numbers. Suppose you have a circle and you have two endpoints on the circle. So I am marking it 1, 2. First, let us take an example like n equals to 3, for example. So you have 6 points on the circle. You can make it anywhere, like, okay. You have 6 points on the circle. How many non-intersecting chords you can draw? For example, you can draw this one. You can draw this one, but this one is not allowed because these two chords are intersecting inside the circle. So basically, how many non-intersecting chord you can draw with two given points? Okay, this is also not allowed, right? Because they are intersecting at these points. So in the beginning, you might think this is similar to triangulation, but it is not. Why? Because in triangulation, you have a polygon, but here, if you consider, yeah, they are intersecting, right? These are intersecting, these two are intersecting. So it is not similar to triangulation. We have to apply different logic here. So how many ways I can draw non-intersecting chords? So let me draw a circle. I have two endpoints. I will mark 1, 2, 3. I will take a point 2k here. Why am I taking 2k and not k? I will explain, but then it will have 2k plus 1, and then I have here 2n. So I have 2n points. Now I will join 1 with 2k. Okay, this is one chord. Let me call hn to be number of non-intersecting chords with two endpoints. Okay, hn is the number of non-intersecting chords I can draw with two endpoints. Okay, now when I draw this chord, how many points are there on the left side? How many points are there on the left side? 2k minus 2. Okay, 2k minus 2. So 2k minus 2 points are there. For 2n points, number of non-intersecting chord is hn. So for 2k minus 2, number of non-intersecting chord will be hk minus 1. Right? Okay. And what will be the number of non-intersecting, like what will be the number of points on this side? This half. Basically, you see, you do 2k plus 1 minus 2n, 2k plus 1 minus 2n, but you add 2n to count this. Sorry, you add 1 to count this. So basically,
It should be 2n minus 2.
Oh yeah, 2n minus 2k plus 1, and then you add 1. Total number of points in the right half. So it will be 2 times n minus k. Okay. So again, number of non-intersecting chord I can draw is half n minus k. Okay. Now basically what I am doing is see if I join 1 with 2k, total number of non-intersecting chords I can draw here is hk minus 1, and total number of non-intersecting chord I can draw here is h n minus k. I will multiply them to get total number of non-intersecting chord I can draw, but I can join 1 with 2k, but I can join 1 with 2 also, 1 with 4 also, 1 with 6 also, all the even numbers. I can't join 1 with any odd number. Why? See, take a simple case 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I join 1 with 3, then this 2 does not have any pair to join, it has to intersect. So I will join only with even numbers. So I will take a summation, and my k will vary from, when I join 1 with 2, my k value is 1. 2 into 1 is 2. So my k value is 1. When I am joining 1 with 2n, my k value is n. So I will go from 1 to n. Okay. So basically this will be my hn. So you can already you can see it by expanding. It will be h0 hn minus 1 plus h1 hn minus 2 plus last term will be hn minus 1 plus h0 hn minus 1 into h0. So this is exactly the Catalan sequence which you see in the beginning. This is the sequence for the Catalan number, right? Catalan number is a solution to this sequence, to this recursion equation. So I can say hn to be what? 1 by n plus 1 to n choose n. So basically number of non-intersecting chord you can draw is this. Okay. One more application similar to this is number of
The time is up like for people who are interested in having a discussion next week.
okay.
All of you guys are need to stay for yeah. Normally it's
You are done explaining all the slides. Then your content is
how many slides?
I mean, not much.
okay, continue for 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
Just keep the examples
Ah.
there is no need to proof and all. Just keep the examples.
Okay. So next application similar to this will be number of non-intersecting arcs. How will you? What is the meaning of number of non-intersecting arcs? Suppose you have 2n points. You have to draw arcs so that no two arcs will intersect. Suppose I draw like this, and then from here, this. Right here, no two arcs are intersecting. But if I do like this, this is not valid, right? They are intersecting. So number of non-intersecting arcs also you can get from Catalan number. You can form the same sequence, you can consider a point 1, 2. You can consider a point 2k here. Then 2n. You can join 1 with 2k. Here there will be 2k minus 1 points. There will be 2n minus k points. right? So similar way you can form this sequence, this series, this recursive relation, and you can get the solution to this is also this one. ये समझा में?
So the next application is the number of skew polyominoes. So we are not going to prove anything because the derivation of it is just a bit complicated than the previous ones. So we're just trying to see the application. So here the number of squares are not fixed. We are trying to construct a figure with connected squares. Like, what do we exactly mean by connected squares? This is a figure of connected squares, and this is also a figure of connected squares. These all are squares. Don't like judge my handwriting here. So you can always construct like this. We can't call this as a connected square because there is a gap in between them, right? With finite number of squares, you want to construct a connected diagram of connected squares, right? Such that the perimeter remains fixed. What do we exactly mean by perimeter here is we are taking unit squares with side length 1, right? So here you can see what is the perimeter of this figure. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This has perimeter 13, right? So what we're trying to do is we fix the perimeter as 2n plus 2. n is non-negative integer, and we add an extra condition. And what is that extra condition? The extra condition is basically like this. While you're trying to construct the diagram of connected squares, basically you get our successive columns. Like in this diagram you can see this is one column, this is one column. So the bottommost square and the topmost square, look at this square. What is the height of this square? The height of this square is, if you consider unit square, the height of this is 3. And what is the height of this square? No, this height of this is 3. It doesn't matter, there is no square. The height is still 3, right? So the condition we are basically putting is, while you go column wise from left to right, the height of the topmost square has to be greater than or equals to the height of the rightmost square. Oh, okay, I confused. The number of rightmost square has to be greater than or equal to the number of leftmost square. Like this. But like this diagram is valid. What is the height of this square? It is 3. What is the height of this? This is 2. Right? But if you try to construct this is not valid. Because now this height is 2, this height is 3.
The right one should be like
Equal to or greater than this. So interestingly, if we fix the perimeter and we attach the same condition, surprisingly we get Cn as the number of such configurations. Next slide. Constructing nice sequences. So what do you exactly call a nice sequence? Let's say for n equals to 5, 1, 2, construct the set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically the sequence will have exactly 5 integers, right? Say any permutation that you want. 1, 2, 4, 5, 3. This is, I am calling is not a nice sequence because it contains 1, 2 and 4. Why? 2 is greater than 1, 4 is greater than 2. You get a chain of 3 integers which are strictly increasing. So it is called not nice. And what is a nice sequence? You can see 4, 1, 3, 2. If I add 5 here, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here it is a nice sequence because there is no 3 integers which are in increasing order. Right? So if you take n integers, consider a sequence, right? There are exactly how many permutations are there? There are exactly n factorial permutations, right? You have n distinct integers, there will be n factorial permutations, right? So number of nice sequence, it's obvious that it is like call it an, it has to be less than n factorial, right? It's obvious. The number of nice sequences are less than n factorial. So if you consider the definition of the nice sequence as there should be no 3 consecutive integers in increasing order, right? Then the number of nice sequences are exactly 2n chosen upon n plus 1. Next slide.
So they can be like decreasing, they can be in decreasing order but not in increasing.
They can here also 5, 4, 3 are in decreasing order, but there should be no 3 consecutive like basically the condition is for ai plus 1, ai plus 2, this trend should not follow. Consecutive means the in consecutive indices. That doesn't mean that here it is 1, here it is suppose 3. 2, 4 cannot be this. I am not telling about this. That's 1, 2, 4. This is not allowed. This is not the case. 1, 2, 4 shouldn't occur consecutively inside the sequence. Right? So basically, you can say that any sequence of n integers shouldn't contain a subsequence of length 3 with strictly increasing order. Right? So basically, that also is Catalan number Cn. So let's see just some interesting facts about our Cn. So basically, if you take the summation over Cn minus 1 to the power n, it becomes 1 by phi. All of us knows what phi is. Phi is the golden ratio, the constant appearing in throughout the nature through different configurations. Golden ratio. You also get this number through Fibonacci sequence, right? Phi is basically what? 1 plus root over 5 plus 2. Fibonacci sequence. Do you know about Fibonacci sequence? Fibonacci sequence is the sequence defined by fn equals to fn minus 1 plus fn minus 2, right? And where does it start from? It starts from 1, right? You go like this. And so on. Then what you do? You divide the distance. You construct a sequence fn upon fn minus 1 defined is to be gn. Then at infinity, this term converges to this, the golden ratio. You can also try to prove this. This is not difficult. We have already discussed about the generating function of Cn, right? We have already discussed C0 plus C1x blah 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 as some function of x, right? So if it is alternating plus minus, it is basically nothing but fn minus 1. There was some radical term, right? 1 plus under root something upon 2. Here was 1 minus 4x or 1 plus 4x, something like that. You just plug x equal to minus 1, rationalize the terms, and you exactly get this term. Right? There are also some interesting integral representation of Cn. Integral from 0 to 4, 1 by 2 pi x and under root 4 minus x upon x dx. In the UChem's, you can also try it if you want. It's an interesting problem. And also asymptotically Cn is equivalent to 4 to the power n to the power 3 by 2 root pi. You can also prove this also. You can, like, a small hint is you can use the Stirling's approximation method for this. Like n factorial at infinity behaves similar to this sequence. You can use this to get as close as this. Next. So C0, C1, C2 up to Cn, these are basically Catalan coefficients, the nth Catalan numbers. You basically start from C0 and end at Cn, start from C1 and at Cn plus 1, and start from Cn and at C2n, the determinant will be 1. And it doesn't only hold for C equals to 0. Suppose you start from C5 also and continue in this fashion, this is also 1. You continue from C300, this is 1. You continue for any Cn and follow this trend, you will always get the determinant as to be 1. If you know the elementary row operations, you can always prove this. Like you can do these operations, R2 minus R1, R3 minus R2 and the system of equations. You also know that Cn and Cn minus 1, you know the relation between them. 2n Cn minus 2n minus 2, Cn minus 1. You do the binomial stuff, Pascal's identity, and basically you reduce it to the determinant has to be 1. Right?